everyone, my name is Rich and this is Record Collector Confessions. I just acquired a bunch of Japanese reissues. One of the standouts was Cecil Payne on Signal, but this one record, Paul Chambers Bass on Top, it was listed as Liberty. I was suspicious, it looked like an original, and I emailed the seller to ask him if it had the RVG stamp, and he said it did. So basically it was like a second pressing, or a third, whatever way you want to think of it, with the original Rudy Van Gelder mastering. It was repurposed for sale in Japan. They included a Japanese insert in with it. But aside from that liner note, that paper, it was basically just like an American third pressing. So I have a history with this record. The first time I ever became acquainted with it, I found an original first pressing at a New York City record store maybe 6 years ago. After a few years, I got the US CD from the 90s, and that's stereo. So the original's obviously mono. The stereo separation is nice on that album. It's got a bonus track too, which I like. So then at some point I ran into a second pressing being sold on eBay from Japan. This was, I think, New York labels, and I think it was earless, and it was like perfect. It was like near mint. So anyways, I did end up selling that. I don't regret it though, honestly. And now that this one came along and it was much, much cheaper, I'll say it was less than 25% of that cost. And this copy isn't perfect. It's got a little bit of lamination damage. The labels have the classic Japanese moisture damage. And the first track plays with some pops and ticks. Not terrible, but I'm not really the biggest fan of the first track anyways. So, I would much rather have this copy that costs less than a quarter of the other perfect copy. This record's not going anywhere. This is going in my pristine crate and it's staying there, for sure. Another thing about Bass on Top that happened was when I got it, I did a little A-B comparison. I pressed play on the CD and I dropped the needle, and then I went back and forth between the CD and the original mono pressing. So the CD is the stereo remastering by Ron McMaster, and the original mono is mastered by Rudy Van Gelder. And they are extremely different. First of all, the original mono pressing is extremely dark sounding. It's like Rudy put a hardcore low pass filter on the whole mix when he mastered it. So the cymbals on Art Taylor's drum kit are very dark sounding. They're not at all bright or sizzly or anything like that. The Ron McMaster stereo remaster, it's just the stereo separation. Between the stereo separation and the more high frequency content, it is just a completely different sound. I don't say this that much. I usually don't like to do the whole night, oh my god, it's night and day. But it's very different. Art Taylor's cymbals really sizzle, and there's just way more detail in the cymbals and all the instruments, frankly, because there's all that high frequency content. So it's actually a perfect example of a record where I like to have different copies. Sometimes I want that like classic experience of the late 50s, and that's obviously the original mono pressing, and sometimes I just want to hear the pristine sound of that remaster that's just maybe a little bit more like realistic. But the one thing that I found out that I would not have known otherwise is that the remaster is playing at a different speed than the original pressing. And the story is that Rudy Van Gelder's master tapes never had test tones on them, so engineers could align them. Normally a master tape will have a test tone at the beginning, and basically depending on how fast or slow you play the tape when you go to do the remaster, it'll make the test tone a lower or higher frequency. From there, you know you've got the exact speed. So Rudy Van Gelder never did that because he was never handing off his tapes to another engineer to master them. I don't really know how Ron McMaster would have decided what speed he was going to play the master tape at when he made his remaster, but he didn't get it right. So that kind of ruins it for me. You know, a lot of people don't like to fuss about the original artistic intentions, but I kind of feel like that's important. So I'm probably going to get rid of that Connoisseur CD and maybe switch over to the Japanese 90s Blue Note Work CD and see if that's any better. A few years ago, I kind of made this transition from vinyl reissues to CD reissues. I really found myself like obsessing, even with reissues that I only paid 30 bucks for. I found myself obsessing over like imperfections in the vinyl, like little pops and ticks and stuff. And like, you know, I decided, well, you know, it's just a reissue. Like, what's the point of having a record? You know, like I might as well just get a CD. And yeah, and then if I have the CD, I don't have to deal with pops or ticks or anything like that. I'm sure there's a lot of vinyl enthusiasts out there that are like, oh no, but so what if there's a couple pops or ticks? The vinyl sounds better than the CD just overall sonically, and I don't know if that's the case. I've heard people say they think that they can hear the difference between a record that is sourced from the original analog tapes, like an all analog signal chain, versus a master tape that was made into a digital conversion and then made into a record. Some people seem to think that they can hear the difference, and I don't think I could ever hear that difference. I've always been a big fan of Red Book digital, meaning just regular plain old CD PCM fidelity, which is, you know, 16-bit 44.1 kilohertz. I've always just thought that that's pretty damn perfect. I've never been one to fuss over HD, 24-bit, 192, whatever. So that's a big reason why I love CDs. A few years ago, I transitioned. I was buying a lot of vinyl reissues of albums I loved, and then I just decided I was kind of tired of kind of dealing with all the nonsense with the pressing having flaws or defects. And the truth is I'm kind of conflicted. Lately I've been thinking like, oh, you know, because my girlfriend likes to collect Japanese vinyl reissues. And, you know, I like being able to throw the record on. I like having the big album art. So, I don't know, maybe I wish I had kept those records. Maybe I wish I had both. So lately I've been thinking more about buying back or buying more vinyl reissues. Moving forward, I think I would like to get back into the vinyl reissue game a little bit more. Try my best to not spend more than $50 on a reissue of a record, because I think that's completely insane. Hopefully they become more available at some point and the demand for them comes down or something, and they'll be more affordable. Anyways, I guess that's it for this week, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.